Zombies, technically, they don't speak, they don't do anything. They just are there eating human flesh. Where do you go from that as an actor? Where do you find the voice for R?
Well, first, you know, the one communication or attempt at communication they can have in this film is grunting. So the voice kind of came from that, where I'd just grunt and then try and formulate words from that. But having that thing whereby I can't remember a lot of words. He can't remember his own name.
Yeah.
Like the one word that he has at the beginning of the film, I think, is hungry, and that's it, which is a good word to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's that thing of if you haven't spoken for a long time, you kind of lose the muscle memory of it as well. So I was just kind of playing around with that a little bit, and then grunting, trying to formulate the right mouth shape, and then say it quick enough that people wouldn't fall asleep in the cinema before I've said a single word.
Was it more difficult for you to get the accent right because of that, or was it a little more easier?
Kind of easier, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you were speaking clearly, then the accent kind of becomes. People can hear if you do make any mistakes a lot clearer, I guess. But when you're kind of grumbling everything anyway, I could have probably been doing, you know, a Jamaican accent and no one would have realised.
Yeah, that's true. What are you? Are you a zombie fan, or did you just kind of take into this that this was a different kind of genre film for it?
I like zombie films. You know, I wasn't a massive zombie fan beforehand, but I enjoyed watching zombie films, and I enjoyed over the last few years watching how, you know, they developed from the 80s classics back up to like 28 Days Later and Zombieland and Shaun of the Dead and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was just a nice take. I thought, yeah, good idea from the zombies' point of view. You've got this funny lead character who's got this sense of humour and feels trapped, and you root for right from the beginning. You really want to succeed. And then a nice little romantic story in there with some good horror and action.
Well, I kept, you know, as I was watching it, I kept thinking, this is Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Were you aware of that going in, or did you kind of discover that as you were filming?
I picked it up when I was working on the accent one day with a friend, and we sat there, and then it was like, oh, Romeo and Juliet, and I was like, what? It'd kind of gone over my head at first, and then suddenly it all fell into place. I was like, oh yeah, there's even a balcony scene. It all makes sense.
That's the tip-off. Once you get to the balcony scene, you're like,
yeah.
Working with Jonathan, who's done some amazing films in a fairly short career.
Yeah.
What stood out for you most working with this filmmaker, this great filmmaker?
You know what the best thing about Jonathan is he's really energetic, enthusiastic, supportive, and just creates a really good atmosphere to work in. Particularly doing something like this, you know, it could, if you didn't feel comfortable and trust the person that you're working for, it could have gone horribly wrong. But with him, I was committed, dove in at the deep end, and yeah, it was a real treat to work with him.
You've got so much coming out, dude. This is only the start for you, with X-Men and Jack and all these great roles. Yeah. Are you feeling it now? Are you feeling the change?
Not really, no. I think it's just one of those things, you know, I've enjoyed making all this last run of films, this and the Giant Slayer and Mad Max, and looking forward to going back to do X-Men again. So it'll be, hopefully they all turn out well. You know, you never know when you're making a film what it's going to end up like. But on this one we had a lot of fun, and I think that kind of, you can see that when you're watching the film, I think.
I loved this movie. I love the Romeo and Juliet aspect of it.
Oh, good.
Are people getting that? Is that something that appealed to you, that kind of Shakespearean tone to it?
Yeah, well, Warm Bodies definitely pays homage to Romeo and Juliet, for sure. R could be Romeo, Julia's Juliet. And then, of course, there's the balcony scene in the movie, too. And
yes.
So it's the quirky twist of the classic love story. And that's what I loved so much about it. It took me a little while to figure it out. It wasn't until maybe week 3 that I started putting all the pieces together, and I realized, oh my gosh, this is like Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
But it's a pleasure to be a part of a film that pays homage to that.
It's paying homage to Romero. I mean, the idea that these, you know, I was actually talking to Rob about how, you know, there's Bub in Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of Romero, or did you kind of?
Yeah, Romero, but then it was definitely 28 Days Later that
that's
just
your
hooked
choice.
me in. Yeah, I thought that was such a brilliant film. Danny Boyle. Oh, it was phenomenal. Aesthetically, it looked beautiful, and it was just petrifying and felt raw and gritty, and definitely transported me into that world.
This film, I mean, people I think are expecting something else. It's not. It's much smarter. It's much more romantic, but it's also not. It doesn't necessarily cheapen the zombie effects.
No, it doesn't. For the fans of the undead genre, they're going to get everything that they want to see. There's the gore, there are the fight sequences, there's the eating of the brains, and I think it's really, Warm Bodies is set apart because there's other things that are great about it too, like the romance, and there's comedy, and we don't take ourselves too seriously. And then, of course, there's a really beautiful message behind it all, which is that love breathes life back into society. Yeah. And the power of human connection is very real and strong, and it's something that cannot be ignored. And that's what I really felt connected to.
Now, last question. If you could have one memory from eating someone's brain, if you could get one small piece, what would it be?
Oh, I'm going to pick Elizabeth Taylor when she made out with Richard Burton.
Oh, really? You're old school now.
Woo! He is a hottie. Yes.
Oh, my God. See, now you would have been a great Elizabeth Taylor. You could have done that, right?
Really? Could I? Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, let my agent know. That's
I will.
going to be on my bucket list.
Yeah. Well, what do you have next for you?
I have Terrence Malick's Night of Cup coming out at some point. Don't know when that's going to come out.
Oh, man.
And then Parts Per Billion by Brian Harucci, which is with Jenna Rollins and Josh Hartnett and Rosario Dawson. So
I've mentioned this a couple of times because this, I was watching this movie and I'm like, oh my God, this is Romeo and Juliet.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What brought you to this? You had a great year with 21 Jump Street. You were amazing.
Oh, thanks, man.
What brought you to this? It's a small role.
Yes,
but
exactly.
What attracted you?
The main thing, so in the past couple years, what really draws me to a project is a solid filmmaker that I want to work with these guys who I admire. And Jonathan Levine, I was a huge fan of the whackness. I really loved 50-50. And I just wanted to be around him. And like you said, it's a smaller role, but it's still pivotal. And I just, as an actor, when you're with these really smart directors, they make nothing roles into at least something, And he's just the greatest. He's one of these guys. He genuinely loves making movies, and he, like, you can see it on set. He'll run at you, screaming at you how amazing you are after a take, and it's incredible to work with guys like that and learn from them.
It is a very pivotal role. It means a lot to the whole
story.
Sure. But there's a nice kind of chance for you to kind of go out of your... You've done so much comedy.
Right.
You get to be a little bit more dramatic. You worked with guns. You worked with...
Right.
What was that like, kind of stepping into that world?
That was great. It was great. It was, it's an interesting part of the rehearsal period where rather than just breaking down your character and sitting in a room and going through each page, we're out at the gun range and we're learning how to properly hold a gun. So if real guys in the military actually watch this movie, they'll be like, that looks realistic, because it would drive me insane. Be like, if those guys, particularly the experts, looked at me and they're like, he doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah. Even if the rest of the world is blind to it, I want the experts to look at me and be like, he knows what he's doing.
Is that how you approach all your roles? Do you
I try to I think regardless of whether or not certain roles work or not, I at least want it to feel truthful. Yeah. And I definitely try to do my homework, and rather than just coming on set and like, all right, let's have fun, like, with this gun, I'm gonna hold it however it feels the most comfortable, even if that's not the correct way. I don't want to do that.
What was the most difficult part of that?
Nothing really. I mean, it's like, I've never really fired a ton of guns, but it's like, those things hurt, man. It's like, especially these like semi-automatics when we were at the gun range, it's like digging into your shoulder, and I'm not a big dude, and it's just like, I don't know, you got a little bruise, but it's wild.
Now, also, you're working with Teresa, who is absolutely lovely.
Yes.
What was it like working with her and finding that kind of chemistry in such a short a time?
It's a great question. It's interesting. It's always an interesting thing, because I got to set the first day, and we met and literally within an hour, we're heavily making out on scene, in a scene, not off screen, in a scene, and we, there's all these strangers watching you make out, pretending like you're madly in love with this girl. And it's always a weird thing, but like you're saying, because she's so cool, she's a beautiful girl, she made it a lot easier than it could have been. But she's a strong actress, and just honestly, you just be there, you just listen to this girl, you just react off her, and it was easy.
This is kind of the best friend, but with a little bit of an edge. I love this character for you. There's so much energy. It's so much fun to watch. How did you approach it? And did you ever think you'd be in a zombie flick?
I mean, I kind of got spoiled character-wise because it is the best friends, and so I didn't have too much pressure on myself, and I got to be in Montreal and enjoy the food, and then be on this awesome set the next day. And at the same time, the character is rounded, and Jonathan was very on board with having me make it, allowing me to make it real at some points, and then still diving into her edgy kind of hits of hopefully what would make an audience kind of chuckle.
They do. It's working with Jonathan, who has made several fantastic movies. Awakeness, All the Boys Love Mandy Lane. If you look that movie up, find it's fantastic. If you haven't seen it, what was it like working with him? What was the rehearsal period like? Was it? It seems like it was a really good experience.
Completely. Not really any rehearsals. Okay. It was very much, at least on my end, it was we'd go through a scene, then we'd show the crew. Very simple, kind of just like, yeah, you guys, this is good. And he always had these levels of enthusiasm. You could really hone in on when he loved something and when he was a little skeptical of it. And he made everyone feel very comfortable and equal on set, which is, I think, very important, where hierarchy can tend to be built. He was very good at keeping everything leveled and just relaxed, and trusting of his actors. When anyone wanted to explore anything, he's very, very much up for it. He's got some great ideas. I can't wait to see that one. His career, it's been an honor to be in one of his films.
You talking about creating, was there ever a moment that you kind of dove in and thought, I really want to try something, I really want to change something in the script, or whether what was going on in the scene? Was there ever a moment that you wanted to do that, and he just gave you the opportunity?
On a small scale. Yeah, character-wise, there wouldn't be anything major, only because it had been a book. So I kind of want to do that justice but also I was definitely given some space to kind of figure out the timing and whatnot in Nora's way of delivering things. So past that, I don't think I ever, there wasn't anything I had to look at and say, I need to change that, because I was given that freedom on set. And it just kind of shaped into being able to explore a bunch of different types of Noras, which was pretty cool.